My name is Metcalfe. I'm currently the co-founder and CTO of a startup called Plato's Forms. Plato's Forms is a company which is going to build tools that will help people who need to manage media and media relations in companies do that process better and more efficiently, and solve lots of pain points and friction that we're dealing with the way that they liaise with the media, online news space, pro bloggers, that kind of thing.
Okay. And
so that's kind of what I do.
Okay.
Yeah, Sure, so I guess going backwards from where I am now, before this was a consultant for 3 years, and I moved to America originally with the view to do startups and to work to found a startup.
Okay.
But I started off doing consultancy partly to kind of, like, I just arrived, didn't know what I wanted to do, didn't have a lot of connections, and it was a good way of sort of getting into the ecosystem.
Okay.
I'm not saying I necessarily would recommend that to everyone, but yeah, that's what. So the last 3 years I've been a consultant, and I've worked with a number of companies. I work with MySpace to help them to design and launch their platform, developer platform. I also spent time working with Loic Lemur, French entrepreneur with Seismic. And I also have worked with Orange France Telecom as well, working on some web projects that they have based out here in San Francisco. They have a team of projects that aren't necessarily associated with cell phones and telecommunications, but actually web stuff. So I did some work with them as well.
Fantastic.
Well, to me, the Americans are foreigners.
If you couldn't tell by the accent.
Yes. No, not foreigner. Yes, I've enjoyed the ability of working with American institutions like MySpace and also some other startups that I'm a advisor to. Right. But also working with companies where I understand some of the European perspective in terms of a European customer base, like with Orange.
Sure.
And yeah, obviously with Seismic, it's a worldwide thing. So.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's good. I think the first thing for foreign companies, or companies in foreign America, is to be very clear whether you're looking to move your company here and be based here, or whether or not you're looking to sort of have an office here or have a presence, albeit just a regular, coming and visiting regularly, or whether you want to have a few business people here, or whether you actually want to move your organization here. And I think a lot of startups are not quite clear on what they want to do, and you should be very clear with what you want to do, because then you tackle that differently.
Sure.
I think it's also very important, as someone that's been through this, to be very clear on what the visa situation is, because you don't want to get thinking of building your organization here and then find out that you're unable to work under the appropriate visas. And I know that is scuppered at a lot of people. My visa is valid, but yes, do they have all the proper work authorization? That's important. And that also takes time to sort out. Years if you need H1Bs and stuff. So it's worth really being very clear on that.
Who do you go to for that? A good lawyer? Or?
Get a lawyer. My advice is get a lawyer. Get one that's based here. Because the ones that are based experience in American immigration law but based in France or Europe or Britain charge a lot more. Like there's loads of immigration lawyers here in San Francisco. So find one that's here.
Interesting.
Is my recommendation. And pay reasonable amount for that. Don't pay top whack, but don't go stingy either. My first visa lawyer was not very good. He was cheap. It was not good. The other thing, to go back to your question, the other thing that I think startups don't do very well, or they should think about better, is they underestimate the importance of having a network and building up a network here. And I built up a good contact network before I moved here. So assuming you're coming here to visit, assuming you don't suddenly just move here having never visited, assuming you're visiting beforehand, really look to work and establish links and contacts here. Sure, so I think, assuming you're a founder, co-founder, I think, and you're working in something in the internet startup environment and you're looking at building something that's international, then coming to San Francisco and Silicon Valley at least once or twice a year I think is very important.
Sure.
Come for some of the events, base a trip around the events,
Yeah.
but also look to do, you know, a tour of companies that might want to work with, or, you know, if you're using APIs, companies that you would be working on top of.
Right.
Come and try and meet some investors, even if it's early stage or early, just get to know people. And the spirit here is once you get to know a few people, you very quickly get sucked into knowing more people as everyone introduces you on. And I think to not do any of that and to turn up and move here
Yeah.
and then start doing that, just setting you back in terms of time. Sure, I think the two big things that jump out for me with the way that we do business in Silicon Valley and San Francisco versus in Europe, the first one is people are a lot more open and talk a lot more about their ideas and a lot are very secretive. And by being quite open and talking about that, you find that other people you're talking to will say, hey, I know someone that's working in this space, or I know something that you should look into. And I think in Europe we're often very secretive and a bit suspicious of whether someone's going to rip off our idea.
Right.
So many ideas and so many people doing stuff out here, like no one is going to go and rip off your idea.
Sure.
In my experience, very, very, very rarely, very unlikely. The other thing that I think is important out here is just the level of optimism. People are very optimistic and very much, like, unless your idea is totally crazy, and in fact even if it is totally crazy, people won't say to you, won't rip it apart and say, hey, this is, people are quite positive and optimistic. I think in Europe people are very pessimistic, looking around, and I have that myself. I look at businesses and I immediately pick around and say, well, this is going to fail, or this is not going to work. And I think that both have positives and negative, both are good and bad.
Right.
But bear in mind that you're going to meet a lot more positivity than you will in Europe.
Sure. So then should I just not be worried about NDAs when I come here?
Yeah, I think you should never give away everything. If you feel that you gave away your entire business, like let's do if you say everything about your business and you tell so openly that someone across the table from you can go and build your business quicker and execute more quickly than you, then bear in mind what you're talking about. But VCs, investors are never going to sign an NDA.
Right.
The media, bloggers are never going to sign an NDA.
Right.
I'm never going to sign an NDA. If people want to talk to me just kind of casually, very few people are going to sign an NDA. Don't put it in front of them. Instead, say, hey, I'd be appreciative if this was confidential, or we keep this. But I think that's what's appropriate. And then, just bear in mind, just know what the other person is doing. If they're building a successful startup themselves, they're not going to want to do anything with your idea. If they're doing something and they could be competitive, don't give them all